Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Today I have a wonderful, special, beautiful guest. You've seen her, heard her before on the podcast. I believe this is your third appearance.
Yeah.
Marilyn Ackerman, my wife. Marilyn is a Colorado real estate agent and an entrepreneur who last year achieved a ranking in the top 10% of the 16,000 real estate agents in HomeSmart Realty Group nationwide. Before being recruited by HomeSmart, she had been in the top 25% of Coldwell Banker agents in 2017. She is a certified negotiation expert, has been a real estate agent since 2011, and a landlord for over a decade, where she owns and manages her own portfolio of rental properties. She also recently launched her own YouTube channel called Longmont Homes and Lifestyle by Marilyn Ackerman. That channel is about Longmont homes for sale, Longmont real estate, living in Longmont, and moving to Longmont. Marilyn highlights Longmont homes for sale along with education about the Longmont real estate market. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lance. I'll just add a couple things to that.
Yeah.
So I did recently get my mortgage broker's license. So I'm also doing that now. And I was in the top 1% of HomeSmart agents, which was 2,440 agents.
Wow, that's
Colorado.
Incredible.
Okay.
Thank you for adding that in.
2
yeah.
years in a row, yeah.
2 years in a row. There you go. Yeah, I was doing the one before that, right?
Okay.
The 10%, right? That was an old stat.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's just moving up, ladies and gentlemen. It's incredible. You're on pace for a record year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about maybe what's fueling that record year. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show was we talk about real estate all the time, you and I. It's almost like a daily thing in our house, right? But there's been these headlines that come out. And so I want to read a couple of them to you. One headline that I have from LinkedIn here that popped up in my feed the other day is largest house price boom in decades. So we've got one side of the media kind of calling that out. And then we've got another article that you shared with me. Housing boom is over as new home sales fall to pandemic lows. So everybody wants to know. I want to know. The listeners want to know. We talk about it all the time. Will the housing market crash or continue to boom? Where are we at?
Will the housing market crash or continue to boom? Okay, let's talk about the factors that are playing into the worry and why people might think it might crash.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot happening that is happening in a different way than has happened in the past. So for one thing, the housing market is soaring to new highs. So nationwide, homes are up 17% in the last year on average. And in Colorado, homes are up about 18% outside of Denver. In Colorado in general, it's 16.7%, and Denver's about 13.5%.
And that's year over year, right?
Year over year.
Okay.
So when people start seeing these kind of meteoric rises, they think bubble. Oh no, we're in a bubble. We've seen this before. And of course, it seems like it is before. But another fear is that there's a lot of talk about the forbearance allowances ending. They ended July 31st. So that means that people cannot renew with the government, their government-backed loans, to have forbearance on their loans anymore due to COVID-related hardships that they were experiencing.
Okay, and if you could pull the mic up a little bit closer, just to make sure, just get real close to that thing. When you talk about forbearance, we're talking about something separate from the eviction moratorium, right?
Yeah, that's separate.
Okay.
We're mainly focusing on homeowners right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the forbearance was a program that was for homeowners who were experiencing a COVID-related hardship, that they could then put about 12 months of their payments onto the end of their loan. Maybe that would be in 10, 20, or 30 years from now. So they could delay those payments. And as of July 31st, they're no longer allowed to delay those.
Okay, and isn't the caveat, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the caveat to that is that it's not like they didn't have to make payments for 12 months and then all of a sudden it's just they start the payments up again. It's whatever they delayed is due at that time, right?
So not all the time, and mostly not. So we'll go over in depth. Let's take a deep dive into that as we get into this.
Sure.
But that is causing so much panic for people, thinking there's going to be this wave of foreclosures as people cannot pay their mortgage payments.
Everybody thinks, boom, it's just going to, literally crash like we're talking about.
Literally thinking the market is going to crash.
Okay.
Well, I have news, and we'll get into that. But those are two reasons why people might think it might sound familiar, or they might think that the market would crash.
And don't you think some of the other echoes of why people they see this meteoric rise that you're talking about, a very hockey stick looking increase, part of the echoes coming from the 2008 crash too, and just that fear it's so close?
I would think so. It looks the same. It looks like home prices are rising very fast. Is it the same? Well, it's very different, and we can get into it. But let's talk about the headline from CNBC. I know it's a CNBC headline.
Yeah, and to repeat that, what it was housing boom is over as new home sales fall to pandemic low. Maybe unpack that for us. What is that? Because there's probably, I'm sure, as much as the media sucks, they get it half right. So I'm sure they are finding that home sales have fallen, but what does that exactly mean? Is it really to the point where people are just done buying, or is there some statistic that we're missing that is really, if you dig a little deeper?
Right. So that is a rather frightening headline, depending on if you maybe just bought a house. That could look like a frightening headline. So some of the bullet points of that are that sales of new single-family homes fell 6% below May's rate from June. Okay. So that looks like the home prices are, that looks like home sales are falling, which they are for new homes, but home sales falling does not mean that home prices are falling.
Okay.
So now the next part of it is that new homes, in this article, it says that new homes rose 15 to 20% from last year, the new home prices.
Yep.
So what's going on is even with those increases of prices, builders are having a very hard time meeting demand. So they're not. What happened, I've noticed a lot, is that they've sold out of their inventory, and there are wait lists to buy homes.
Okay, so does that explain why sales have went down, because they just don't have the inventory?
That's
is it
right.
as simple as that?
It's low inventory.
Okay. And is there a metric in this article? It is only new homes. It is sales of newly built homes.
Yeah, this is about new homes.
So this isn't like existing stock or anything like that.
No, it's not. It's not. And it does go over why it's taking a long time to regroup and get the inventory back, and that's back up to where it needs to be. It's because a lot of there are shortages of certain materials, labor supply, and as you are well aware, and you have said in recent podcasts, the lumber is up, appliances are up, other materials are up, such as concrete and steel. So it is taking, and it's up, and they're in shorter supply than they were because they're in higher demand.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Yeah. So but the fundamentals are still there because of the demand.
The demand is still there.
What kind of demand are you seeing? Like, how many people are competing for one of these new houses?
Okay, it depends. In the wildest situation in areas south of Denver, beautiful new suburban areas where you can get a $700,000 3-bedroom, 3-bath house. You need, for many of these home builders, you need to be in their lottery system. So you can submit your name for it to be drawn out of a lottery for the chance to buy one of their homes. And you need to put down a deposit.
Just to be in the lottery. Is it non-refundable?
It's refundable, but the amount is very high, $2,500.
Wow. Is
what I've been seeing as a deposit, just for the chance to be in the lottery.
Yep.
Yeah, and there are many builders right here in Longmont and in surrounding areas where they have about 7 to 12 people on a wait list for the release of each lot. So the demand is quite high that I'm seeing.
Wow. And it wasn't so if you scaling back to like before COVID hit, and what was the average buyer to new house ratio. I mean,
you walk in and buy it.
Just walking in and buy it.
Yeah.
But there wasn't this big wait list.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What is it? So what about existing homes and those sales? I mean, how does that fit into this whole narrative of sales? Are sales going down there? Or are they plateauing? Well,
in the Denver metro area, we have about 2 to 3 weeks of inventory.
What's the usual? A
balanced market would be 6 months of inventory.
Oh my
Anything
gosh.
under 6 months of inventory is a seller's market.
So now it's normally is 6 months, 24 weeks.
Yeah.
We're at maybe 3 weeks. Let's just give it the benefit of the doubt, right? So 800% difference.
Oh, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So very, very high demand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it. So in your opinion then, where does the market head from here? I mean, and maybe you could talk about it in two different ways. So do you see us heading towards a crash, or is it sounds like all the fundamentals are there. It sounds like the supply and demand fundamentals are there. We're not getting in this situation anymore about people being underqualified to buy a house. That was one of the big things, right?
Oh, that's right. Just signature loans where you don't have to prove anything. Well, yeah, let's look at some of those fundamentals. And the deep dive I was talking about is on the
you sent over this mortgage monitor report. Is that what we're talking about next? Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do for the audience right now is I just pulled it up on my screen. I'm going to screen record, and then I'll post it up on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Marilyn sent over this May 21 report from, it looks like Black Knight made it. I don't know what that is. It's called Mortgage Monitor. And maybe kind of point me to where we should be looking.
Page 7?
Page 7. Here we go. Okay.
Right. So page 7. So this is the actual number of loans in foreclosure in the country.
And we're looking at, there's two charts here. So am I looking at the one on the left?
On the left.
Actor forbearance plans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Total 2,056,000 homes are in forbearance in the United States right now.
Yep.
Under that, it says 2 lines under the share of loans, 3.9% of. So that number is 3.9% of all loans in the United States are in forbearance right now.
That seems low, and it looks like it's trending down.
Yeah, it does look like it's trending down.
Okay, and you would think we'd be just speak to me like I'm 5. Like, shouldn't it be going up if we're really headed towards a crash, or is that not one of the indicators?
Oh, it definitely should be going up. Of course, yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And one thing I want to show you on. We're going to go to page 10, and we might come back to that page.
Yeah, sure. Heading over to 10 here.
Okay. So here, since the beginning of COVID and when forbearance started being allowed, and this is the first time in history the government has granted these forbearances.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you'll see the pie chart, and the green is 46% of those loans that went into forbearance since COVID started were removed or performing, or their time
They're
period
still
just
okay.
expired. That means people just kept making their payments, and they use this as insurance.
I see.
And I do remember in about March, April last 2020, that was some popular advice: was just get it just in case you need it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then And then there's a section of people that paid it off. So that's the gray piece of the pie, and that's 18%.
Paid off their loans.
Well, you know what? They probably sold it. Sold the home.
That's how it counts. Looks
or
refinanced. On paper.
Yeah. Yeah. They could have refinanced too.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And then what's really interesting is as we move to the other side of this chart, the last column.
Okay, now you're on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's the yellow sliver says 5%, and that says delinquent.
Okay.
So of all of those forbearance loans, and these are loans still in forbearance, only 5% are actually delinquent.
That's incredible.
So most people are actually paying on their loans. Or maybe they sold the house.
So it's probably fair to say that we are not going to see this tsunami of a crash and all of a sudden this giant inventory become available and people are going to see housing prices go lower because we have this inventory, right? It's just not happening. It's just not.
Here's how it could happen. Okay. Also, well, before I get into that, there's also a program from the Federal Housing Administration where if you're experiencing a COVID hardship and you're a delinquent on your loan, you can get a 0% interest loan, and it only serves as a lien on your house from the federal government. So, so that's really going to bail people out who really have had a COVID hardship.
So those people could be in this 5% in the yellow that we're talking about.
I would think they would be. Yeah.
So like one last Band-Aid sort of to fill the gap.
Yeah.
Is
an
there.
incredible loan. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was figuring this out. What if everyone in Colorado who was delinquent on their forbearance loan wanted to just got foreclosed on? What if they couldn't even get this program for some reason, and they got foreclosed on? So Colorado, on average, I'm going to look up this number, because Colorado's pretty average for the country as far as the number of people in forbearance and things like that. So I'm going to look this up here. Okay, and keep in mind, in Colorado, 37% of homes are owned outright.
Okay,
there's no loan.
They're just paying taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And nationwide, I found a stat that was an old stat from the year 2000, but it said 30% of homes nationwide are owned outright.
So we're above average in Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if every home that was in forbearance and delinquent was foreclosed upon in Colorado, so there are 1,658. 1,658,000 homes in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have the certain percent owned free and clear. Then we have people, if we have a regular percentage of people in forbearance and delinquent, and they all got foreclosed on at once, which wouldn't even happen because that takes a few months.
Yeah.
It would be 3,234 homes that would hit the market.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that would make a huge difference
How much did you
in our
say?
Market?
How much?
3,234 homes would hit the market.
No.
It won't make any difference.
I feel like I could pull another number out of you. So if there's 3,000 that would hit the market, right, instantly, just pretend that it really would happen like that, right? What is the average number that are even on the market usually for sales? Isn't it around that number anyway?
Oh gosh, I would have to look that up. I mean,
or do you remember that economist that we went and saw maybe 3 or 4 years ago? Elliot Eisenberg, yeah. Didn't he have a number where he said like the average? So in order for us to even keep up demand, and this was in 2018, something around there, or 2017, for us to even keep up with the demand as a builder, you would have to, we would need to put out like, I don't know, 12,000 houses per month or something like that.
It was a huge number, and it was something like
much bigger than 3,000. I think that's the point. That's the point we're trying to make here, is that it's not going to. If everything went perfectly for the people who are waiting on the sidelines, thinking that they're going to save some money, they're going to be able to buy a house and be non-competitive, be much less competitive, even pre-pandemic or even pre-pandemic, not going to happen.
No, buyers, it's not going to happen. Homes are predicted to go up steadily in the next year, a couple of years. I don't think it's not going to go up 17% again. I don't think nobody sees that happening. But to continue our steady growth of somewhere around 5%. Is expected.
5% in price?
5% in price. Oh, that would be, and it's actually expected to be more than that.
Okay.
But
that's a conservative estimate.
Well, Zillow said 13% for Colorado for the next 12 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it will, so it's still going up, but it will eventually slow down. I'm just saying it's certainly not going down in price at all. So people who have just bought a home and maybe they paid more than the asking price, they're in the clear. It's still going up.
I was hoping I would have so talking about kind of back to builders and this wait list that they have now. I didn't have time today, and I apologize, but I was listening to Peter Schiff yesterday. I'm a big Peter Schiff fan, and one of the things he says is he was saying yesterday is he's predicting that prices will still increase. He's okay. He believes that's a thing, right? Because he gets the supply and demand issue. He's Austrian economics guy. That's basic economics. But one thing that he kind of threw me off. It didn't throw me off. I just wanted to pick your brain about it, and that was he's predicting though there will be a crash on the builder side of things, because of the things you talked about, the shortage of labor, the increased material scarcity and cost, But why would that? Why do you think that? Do you agree with him, or do you think that would not happen? Because I'm hearing that there's this crazy list, and you got to pay to get on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the supply is very difficult, sure, but it sounds like it's only going to get worse. This demand is not going away.
Okay, well, would there be a builder crash,
Yeah.
as in builders go bankrupt? I mean,
that they get put,
Yeah.
it basically makes it so that what he was saying is that because of because the price is going to still
Yeah.
increase so much because of those factors.
yeah,
And it's true, right? I mean, the builders
Mm-hmm.
are not going to eat the cost of a 2x4. They are going to add that to the price and then still add on their 10, 12, 20.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I see what you mean. Well, I think that there will be a trend of builders building more high-end homes for people that really maybe price is not too much of an object. And I think that's going to hurt people who are looking for the average type 3-bedroom, 2-car garage home.
Yeah, starter
Yeah.
homes are kind of not there anymore, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, if you're a builder, why wouldn't you? Especially if that demand is there, you would think that would be what you'd be reaching for anyway. So it's kind of, I think it's the perfect market for a builder.
Mm-hmm.
Labor shortage aside, material shortage, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, and in our 100,000 person town, Longmont, the $1 million to $2 million segment of the market is very hot. Those home prices are selling at about 108% of their
listing.
list price, and that's very huge. Normally we haven't seen so much competition in that
level.
In that level, no.
How long are those kind of houses on the market too? Is it also a shortened time? I mean, is it a couple
it's
weeks?
It's exactly the same as all the houses that, it's something like 14 to 21 days.
But not 30 to 60.
No,
Because isn't that what we were used to before?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. So it's definitely shifting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Is there anything else from the PDF you wanted to talk about? I think it was very helpful to kind of just have a visual look at it. I mean, I'm kind of flabbergasted and blown away at this 5% number. I mean, all the numbers really, especially the paid off one, and then when you unpack that and see what it really means.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then the fact that we just took that 5% number and played the scenario out of if it was a best case worst case scenario.
Yeah.
It's only 3,000 homes.
Right, in Colorado. So no, that's the highlights of what I wanted to share on that PDF with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Cool, very cool. This is great. I mean, just because I wanted to unpack this. So you did talk about how much homes are up, or a little bit briefly, but how much? Maybe you could dive into that a little bit more. So and maybe you could do it in some different categories. The one with 2 million, but let's say some of the audiences, they're buying houses for less than that. What are you seeing on the ground?
Okay, so you know what? Between your $350,000 home, which is about the lowest that we go in our market here, up to the 2 million, it's all just everything selling for just about 106, 107, 108% of list price. And I have found doing some, just looking real deep, that some homes are little, what's the word for it? They don't fit today's standards. They might have one bathroom. So those homes generally bring the averages down if it's just a 1-bath home. But if it's the average home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, something around 1,800 square feet with a 2-car attached garage, then it's often going for about 110% of list price, just because it checks all the boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if people believe every word we've said today, and to boil it down again for the audience, that would be that housing prices aren't going down anytime soon. We don't see this, even if there is a crash that the media wants and some people want. It's a very small splash of extra inventory that's going to come in. Is there any reason why people should wait to buy?
No, not only if it's personal reasons. There's no just financial incentive to wait to buy. In fact, I think it's going to cost people more money. If Zillow is true in their prediction of a 13% growth in the next 12 months for Colorado, why would someone want to wait and pay 13% more for that house, same house?
Yep.
In 1 year
with interest rates at record lows.
Yeah.
So let's say people heard that and they go, all right, they convinced me. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get into a house. I'm going to sell my house, buy a new one, whatever. What do they need to be prepared with in this kind of a crazy competitive market?
Well, there's some.
How do you win?
There's some regular ways to win, and then sometimes you need to get real creative. So the regular ways to win are to offer, say it's going to be 7 or 8% over asking price. You want to be prepared for that, to offer that amount in cash, or state that you have that in cash. Be prepared to show it on a bank statement, on a stock market portfolio account, whatever you have, however you can document that.
And they need to show that right off the bat
with the offer,
because what they should be they're worried about is the appraisal coming in at asking instead of the 8% over, right?
Yes.
So they're trying to close that gap.
Yes.
Okay.
That's called the appraisal gap coverage, right? And then other things that they can do are they can be the greatest buyer in the world. They can decide to they can offer to buy a warranty for that home if it's an older home, saying that if anything breaks during the time period between going under contract and purchasing that home, they've got it taken care of with this warranty. That warranty might be to cost $400.
And that's on the buyer.
Yeah, they could buy that. Just make it easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can make it easy for them. Some other things are you can double your earnest money deposit. So if normally we're putting down 1%, so you could double that instead of $5,000, $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
That makes you look real serious. And some creative things I've been hearing of are to offer to pay for moving expenses for the seller.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Just cash, I would imagine, right?
Cash. Yeah.
What kind of have you seen anybody? Have you seen people do this?
I haven't seen anyone pay for moving expenses.
Have you heard of them?
I've heard of this.
What would you say the number is for that?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's a sort of a new thing. People are just thinking of new creative ways to get their offers accepted.
Wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think waiving the inspection is very common too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means that when you're buying your house, you just go take a really good look at it when you're walking around. When you're looking at that home, take your time. And if you want to waive that inspection, because what you're saying is, well, I can still get it inspected, but whatever the inspector finds, I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah. What about this? You hear these horror stories about people going to look at a house. How prepared do the people need to be in the sense of, does this need to be? How much of a priority does it need to be in your life? I know some people are just, you need to be ready. Because the stories I've heard of, hey, we were literally in the showing. There was one day of showing. We showed up at 10. The showing started at 8. They already had 3 offers.
Yeah, and you know what? And so I've been in that situation with my buyers and on the selling side where, so with the sellers, we always say, okay, we're going to put it on the market on Thursday. You're going to accept whatever offer is the best offer on Monday at noon, something like this. And then what happens is, especially if the seller lives there, they get real tired of having to vacate their house and show their house, and they've got, say, an offer that's over the asking price the second day that it's on the market. They'd say, hey, we just want to take this. We don't want to keep showing our house anymore. We got to get the dogs out and the kids. This is
clean
a pain.
It up.
We already have what we want.
Yep.
So then I got to go, and I had already written my deadline in the MLS. Offers due Monday. So then I got to go and email everyone and say, offers are actually due today at 5, sorry. And I've done that on my listings, and people do that all the time on their listings when my buyers are looking at listings. So you have to be prepared that offer deadline is not written in stone at all. Just because an agent writes that in the MLS, it means almost nothing.
Interesting.
That they're going to stick to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a contractual point. It's just a note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything? One thing I did want to ask you about the eviction moratorium, because I know we went into the other topics a little bit more, but before we get into that, is there any other thing? Is there any other thing we haven't talked about that you wanted to talk about?
No, we're good.
Okay. Tell us about the eviction moratorium then. So that's related to more. I mean, yes, people are. You obviously have single family homes that you rent. I have single family homes that we rent. But can you talk about a little bit more on the commercial side of things? So somebody who owns like multifamily apartments that we have across the street here, right? Those are rent control. That's different, but a more free market version of that. Do you think we're going to see mass evictions once that comes into play? And then if so, are there going to be any foreclosures on those properties, or are they still covered with this stopgap?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I mean, I can speculate for these larger apartment complexes. Just being a landlord myself of smaller, not a large complex, but evictions are expensive. There is no guarantee that you are going to actually get your rent from that tenant. I mean, if you want to sue them for 3 months of rent and they don't have any money in their bank account, you're not getting anything. So it's a lot of the times not even worth doing for a landlord. So for that reason, I don't see that happening a whole lot. There's no real benefit in doing that eviction other than, I suppose, you can get the sheriff over there to haul their stuff out.
And then there's also no benefit to somebody just saying, I'm not going to pay my rent, right? Because how hard is it? Because it's going to be hard. The consequence of that is it's going to be extremely hard for them to rent.
Well, if they're not going to pay their rent and the landlord has to get the sheriff over there to get their stuff out, they're not getting a place again for 7 years.
Wow.
I mean, unless
it's
they're
like a
going to live
bankruptcy?
Oh, yeah, it's real bad. It's going to be on their credit report for 7 years or so. And so when I've rented places in the last few months here in the area, for instance, for one single family home I rented, very average home, I had to turn down 59 applicants.
Okay.
So there's no chance I'm going to take someone with an eviction on their record. And I don't think that there's any chance that anyone will take someone with an eviction on the record when the rental market is so tight like that.
So the rental market is also gangbusters.
It's gangbusters, yeah.
And do you think a lot of it is the same sort of supply and demand things that we talked about too, where, I mean, these builders can't build fast enough. They literally can't build fast enough, first of all, because of the demand. Second of all, the labor shortage, the material shortage, the regulations, all of that kind of stuff. So the fundamentals are still good there?
Well, the rental market, just because we have so much migration into Colorado from other states, so any state that has that inter-country migration is going to be having this really hot rental market like we do too. So, with people having all this freedom with COVID of where they want to work, they're migrating to sunnier places.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's affecting it.
Yeah. Very cool, Marilyn. This has been super helpful. I've certainly learned a lot. I hope everybody else has too. And that we've busted a few of these myths that I think people want to latch on to. I understand it's also not the best news that they maybe want to hear because everybody thinks you're going to get a deal. And everybody thinks you're going to get a deal, but you're not getting a deal. One question I like to ask everybody before we kind of sign off here, and that is, knowing what you know now, if you go back all the way to 2011 when you first started your real estate career, what is one piece of advice you give yourself?
When I started my real estate career in 2011, what would I have done differently? I think that I fell a little bit of a victim to the media when when I wanted to buy rentals and everything was real low. In 2012 was the trough of just the lowest prices you could imagine.
It was amazing.
And I got caught up in what everyone was thinking that, maybe it's going to go down even further.
Oh, sure.
And I hesitated and I waited. And I remember looking at apartments in Denver as rentals, and they doubled in 6 months.
Holy cow.
At that time, then I thought, still really well. It can't go up any farther.
Yeah.
Oh, and since then,
it's
probably tripled since then.
Yeah.
So I think that I wouldn't have. And I did find some voices when I was researching things, just that, that this is the lowest point.
Sure.
Go for it.
You can always find somebody to further your echo chamber.
But I let the doom and gloom take over.
Yeah.
And missed some good opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's good. If people still want to hear more from you, where can they find and follow you? I've already plugged your YouTube channel, but if they want to learn more about your perspective on real estate, tell us where they can find you.
Yeah, that YouTube channel is where it's at. So it's Longmont Homes and Lifestyle. And please look me up there on YouTube.
Hit that like button, smash it. That's what I've been told to say. Subscribe, leave a comment, and thanks for being on today, Marilyn.
Thanks, Lance.